Okay. You guys don't have their numbers right here?
I mean, I could come back to the thread and stuff, but I don't really want to. I'd like to talk to the review, and you're already doing it, so why did you get it first?
Yeah, totally. Interesting. We might be coming in from the middle of this too.
Your fingernails are really long.
They are. That's true. One of them is not. One of them is just mostly
manipulating the phone better.
That's a good guess. Let me answer all these questions and more once we are inside.
Alright.
If I can... I'm looking up Romeo? What am I looking up? A phone number.
Romeo. I mean, it's just...
Oh, here it is. Okay, perfect. I got it.
You're doing almost exactly what I would have done.
I mean, well, that's not that.
Yeah, that
Our goals are similar, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
You guys are based in the area? You guys biked here? Skated here?
Yeah, I biked here at noon and then hung out with him and then came here.
Nice. Okay, cool. So it was Henry and...
Greg.
Alton? Yeah. Thanks. Hey, this is Alton. I am outside the back door for Quixie. Alright, see you soon. Thanks. So they'll be there in a moment.
Cool. I still think this thing needs a doorbell. That was my comment last time.
There's this, like...
That's an RFID sensor.
That's right, yeah. There's nothing resembling a doorbell.
Hello. Thank you.
May I take my
Excellent.
bike inside?
Yes, but don't hold the door open.
Oh, right. I remember that. That happened before to me. It was like 30 seconds or something.
Yeah. No, don't hold the door open.
Okay.
It doesn't...
Oh, got it. So it's like really that serious. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
How long is this time out for?
30 minutes? No,
30
not
seconds.
30 seconds.
Wow.
But there's also... Yeah, it seems really...
What happens if it's open too long?
Oh, alarm goes off.
And then
we have to
security
turn it off.
arrives.
We have to call somebody to make sure security doesn't show up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yep, I did this before because I put a trash can in the room.
Yeah.
That is kind of absurd.
It is kind of absurd. Yes, it is. We've said so.
How many break-ins have you had, though?
But what?
How many break-ins have you had?
So far as I know, 0.
So I was going to say, well, clearly, yeah. There you go. That's why it's working. It's working.
For break-ins are rare events. There's only...
I know.
Yeah, exactly. No, like, we've definitely got the toss on the wrong day.
I know. Sorry. This was a terribly facetious statement that I totally...
I don't know. I haven't heard you talk enough to distinguish
Okay, that's true.
sarcastic from normal.
You're right. Matt knows me a little bit. Not...
Give me a few examples of both, and then I'll be able to classify future utterances as sarcastic.
Right. Where are we going? Are we here?
This is sarcasm. This is not.
Not helpful.
Yeah, so that's actually true. It's what I do because I want to know and I want to gauge how well people are listening. And if you are like engaging your cognitive faculties in critical thinking brain, then I will know because you will point things out like you did.
Alright. It looks like our best bet is again to...
I have 2 more people coming as well. I don't know if...
stuff. And we have a few more and then Romeo will show up. Why don't we move stuff? The easiest thing might be to move this middle table out of the way, put these couches like this,
Oh, I see.
and then we'll just have just one large white space.
Alright, yeah,
Okay.
that works.
And we can scooch the other tables around accordingly.
I like movie stuff.
Here.
Yo, someone grab the other.
Alton.
Yep.
No, we're not doing
Ready?
that.
Where are we moving it?
Move to your left.
Thanks. That was specific. I'm good. Helpful.
Well, there's more room for chairs.
I mean, it doesn't need to be like...
This is fine. Can we make it more like this? Yes, I could just...
Well, I was gonna have that table and chairs in too, but that's probably...
Wait, sorry.
Well,
So
okay, no, actually...
I would just tilt it more in this way.
Looks more like a
If we do this...
Just tilt this in more this way and then tilt this one in more this way, right?
Let's just grab those chairs and bring them here.
Okay. So inclusive. So I'll just move this.
Oh, we're just moving it around. Oh yeah, you can move the table in too.
Oh man,
Careful.
It might explode.
That's right. Okay. Oh yeah, if you move it around for too long, the alarm goes off.
Oh man.
If there are more people coming, then this arrangement will be equally inadequate.
Yes, but it's easy to expand.
We can just add chairs from this point.
And then we can add chairs. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, so this is quite nice.
Okay, so we have Alton, Henry, Greg, and other people I don't know, and Matt. What is it?
Vlad.
Vlad. Okay, Vlad, Alton, and
Kizzo.
Kizzo. Kizzo, I think we may have met somewhere before.
Yeah, you taught me cards at a party.
That's my thing. Perfect. OG.
So Brian and Greg. I'm Henry. Henry.
That's Greg.
Greg. Matt. I don't know how I got Brian. Hi, I'm Matt.
I remember you
Right.
from a week ago.
I remember you from a week ago.
What a week it's been.
It has been, in fact, 7 days.
Well, what, I mean, you say that like there's some sequence of events that happened that was particularly eventful.
No.
Okay.
I've
So
had
it
some
was a very
things
uneventful. Okay. Sure. Well, tell me more about yours.
They're secrets.
But they still remain a secret within the realm of this versus the world.
I just had a good
No,
weekend
you're
with
not
friends,
entitled to
hanging out,
people's trust. Come on now.
Sure.
doing cool things.
Okay.
Nothing of a special note to this group, I think. But-
Sure. Fine. Okay. Well, I got back from that Draper University program, and it makes me much more biased towards action. So,
Nice.
Tim Draper threw a bunch of entrepreneurs into this hotel he bought, and he had like a bunch of zillionaire speakers, a bunch of entrepreneurs into a hotel he has in, yeah, exactly, and bodies everywhere. And it was just, he had a bunch of millionaire speakers come in like every day and talk about how they got to where they were. And afterwards, this program ended about 2 weeks ago. I felt much more biased towards action and more inclined to take up opportunities. So my friend messaged me on Friday saying, "Hey, I'm going to go to LA. Do you want to jump in the car? I'm leaving in about 30 minutes, by the way." And I was like, so yeah, no, and I ended up going with him. I canceled a couple of photos and things. I do photography personally, and it was great. I did some stuff at Magic Castle. Or I do card magic too, all of these things. So great. Now you know a little bit more about me.
Fingernails.
Oh right. Some of it's like 10% is like misdirection too, and like another 10% of it, the reason is like the mystique and allure of like, oh, I wonder why he has long fingernails. And I get to meet more people who are more observant and more expressive in the world, because a lot of people notice them but don't say anything. A lot of people say something but not to me.
How much of you is just like a test for everyone you meet?
Most, right? Isn't that what everything is? Filters, selective filters.
All right.
Hello.
Oh, once you've noticed.
I should probably.
Yeah, and then it's like going to be another meta filter of like how intensely you ask, and then like it determines whether or not you ask that question. But I haven't thought.
He's just really lazy about his fingernails, and he just came up with that extra fingernail. Yeah.
It actually does. It does work. It does take more work, unfortunately, to have them sharper. But it's a good
This is
concept.
what laziness with fingernails looks like. Then again, I just chew them off.
Ooh, so much. It's like everything you touch, like just
Yeah.
it's a bunch of dirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think it's likely to get this sick.
Probably not. So I invited 2 other people who are going to come by as well. I just want to like check in on them. Yeah. All right. As in, this is why I'm ignoring you now, because I'm texting them.
Oh.
It's a Wired magazine. Do you guys remember this? I used to subscribe, but I dropped my subscription because it's
Hello, Rowan. Excellent.
Wow, good to see you.
Great thing.
Long time
Fantastic.
no see.
Come in.
So you've warned everybody about live logging already?
Nope. I just told these 2 guys outside about it, but I have not warned everyone about it. Kizzo,
So
I think.
we are both doing live logging, that is recording.
I don't know if this is
our
actually
live stream
recording. Oh,
video
yeah,
and
okay.
audio. That's just to make our biographers later make it easier for them. Those who are gonna write our biography.
It's already being
I'm
written.
kidding.
Okay.
Anyway, yes. So in state of California, we have to warn everyone who is being audio record, right? Video is okay. We don't have to tell you that we are recording video, but audio is. I hope you're
So
okay
since
with
you
that.
just told me now, if I object, will you like delete what previously
I don't know what
happened, or what happens?
I don't know if what
guess
happens
I
if you
would stay.
object. I think you can still do it anyways. You can just opt out by like leaving the room, or by punching him or something.
Okay. Okay.
No,
But you have to punch both of us because.
Yes.
It's okay. I have 2 hands.
Right.
That would be difficult. But I think we're supposed to stop that, or somehow, and I guess in that case we would have to delete that portion that.
Wait, no. Do you have to? Is that true? I think you just have to inform
You
them.
should research if you're going to be,
If you're gonna be doing it, you should definitely know how that works.
Or you could just not inform people.
Right. Jonah? All the people? Jonah?
But there's a record of them not.
Kizzo, Vlad, Greg, Henry, right? And Alton and Roman.
Uh,
I'm Vlad. Vlad, right?
No, I'm Jonah.
Oh, Jonah.
Greg.
I'm
That's
Vlad.
fine.
You're Vlad.
Yeah.
More and more East Europeans here. I don't know what's going on.
We need name tags.
You say you've become more sort of biased towards action.
yeah.
How would you recommend becoming more biased towards action?
Put yourself in a bunch of like really intense scenarios. Like every day, he had I think 3 or 4 successful CEOs of startups come in and talk about how they got to where they are, and then, like your brain has no time to reflect or digest any of the information, and so afterwards, then you feel like, oh man, there's something missing. My life is so calm. I should probably be doing something. So you condition yourself into a state, or you feel like relatively, if things are not as exciting as that state, then you will want to get yourself in that state. I'm going to call somebody. Okay, but I don't know who's leading this, so I just talk like I am. Okay, got it. Hey Rashmi, I'm curious what you seem to be not. What happened? I'm sorry? Oh no, he's what? No, of course not. He doesn't show up to these things.
I'm just uncomfortable. I don't think I want to see him if he's there.
Okay, so if I ask, okay, if I ask and if I verify that he's not here, then would you consider coming here? Okay. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's fair. I understand that the likelihood of you seeing someone else who he knows is likely higher, so that's totally reasonable. Of course. Sure, I should have been more sensitive to that. I know that Laurent doesn't particularly come here specifically, but I should have more, I guess, clearly informed you at the time. But thank you for letting me know afterwards. Of course. Well, how are you doing? You sound like, is that okay? Are you all right? Mm-hmm. Of course. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's very fair. I understand. No worries then. I'm glad that you guys, at least, you gave him the time to talk, and that you better understand where you stand now. Okay, that sounds good. Well, I'm sure I'll be done here, and then I'm going to go to Palo Alto. My friend is having a kind of like a mini recital thing. I don't know if that's of interest to you, but it's in downtown Palo Alto, and that starts at 9 o'clock. I don't think I'll be there starting at 9, but I'll be there to show up. Okay. Okay. Sure, no problem. All right, well, thanks for letting me know. I will see you later. Thanks, Rocky. Talk to you soon. Hey, great seeing you. I heard I heard something about this orange banana thing that you, is that true?
Oh, Soylent Orange.
Something like this.
Yeah. That's,
I didn't actually read the post yet, but I will do that right now before I actually talk about it, but that's just the context I heard. Like, sure, but I heard about this less than a week ago because I just ordered all of the things for that four-man Soylent version, which is like $200 of stuff off of Amazon.
I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, okay.
I haven't been following the Soylent stuff too much.
We assume,
Is that like there should be a cheaper version than that? $200 for a
It's,
month?
well, it's 200, I don't know, it's probably more than a month's worth. I think it's actually like 2 months worth.
That's pretty good.
2 or 3, I don't actually know.
I think
drive people insane.
nutrient powder plus like soy oil is like $60.
Okay.
Get them all interlocking in clever ways.
So-
The correct way is
Are you talking about Soylent?
Yeah.
Really?
You haven't seen the
it
post I made
looks
about
like
that?
Hebrew writing a little bit.
Soylent Orange.
I didn't know about it only until I mentioned it to someone else, or Soylent at all. Was someone sitting here? I think Matt was
You
sitting
made the email post? Or you finished?
No, I'm not.
Oh, art. And it's not,
Not like amazingly so much.
No.
oh,
Yeah.
I guess I'm not checking it on the regular basis.
Hair?
Yeah, it's a lot of noise.
B-E-R-R.
or Kapecha.
So it's particularly interesting. Also, I met with Rob Reinhardt like the 2 days after he wrote that post in San Francisco, and then the day after, at Ugle, which is like 2 doors down, to introduce him to someone who'd actually like be able to run studies or tests on it.
Is he sickly?
Well, I mean, when I talked with him, he looked fine. He looked great. He described himself as eating socially. If you read. But I was surprised. I mean, he seems totally fine. But I haven't actually seen him since. And he said he'd been on it for like 3 months.
Right.
At the time that he wrote the initial post.
And then
Talking about Rob?
Yeah.
Which would be valid.
Yeah. That's,
I saw him 2 days after he posted the initial post, and then 3 days after he posted the initial post, because I wanted to introduce him to
clearly,
Yoni
this
and
is what it was intended for.
Nick,
Well, I mean, or
who were
otherwise
doing
you could have,
quantified
you know,
mind.
like-
Yeah,
and actually do tests.
well, duh.
Yeah,
What do
they could
you,
get,
wait, what do you call that game?
have you
where
heard anything
have,
about
like,
soy,
the pyramids? You use
Zendo.
soy pod?
Zendo. You use Ice House pieces.
Soy pod?
Yeah.
Soy pod.
Oh, there's a couple
So they're
things like
developing
that,
this
yeah.
robot that's supposed to create a custom mix for you every
I met a bunch of
time,
people who play it here, but
Yeah.
based on your
I played it at the
Physiology or
Berkeley
something?
meetup.
based on your
a while
current
ago.
status, your test results.
Okay,
Zendo.
sounds good.
Ultimate,
Wait, I heard
Yeah, you're the
Zendo.
one who told me about it. You really like that game?
Probably.
You have associations or ties with Zendo? Hey, Jason,
No opportunity.
you said are you
Oh
living
no,
there?
just I'd heard of it, and then I met a bunch of people who played it. But the only people I've ever heard who play it are West Coast people.
Play.
Zendo.
Oh, it's actually a game. Okay, I was talking about Zendo Lounge, which is actually a place, like a co-living space in San Francisco.
Which they all play Zendo there, and actually that's where I'm staying.
Cool. Confusing. Okay.
Even funnier was the other day when I randomly walk into a game store, see somebody playing Go,
Yeah.
start talking to them, decide they're friendly, talk to them more, learn Go from them, and then find out that I'm living in the same house with them.
Who was it?
Peter?
Peter Ikana. Peter.
I don't know.
There's
his
a bunch
last
of different
name.
Peters.
He plays a lot of Go.
Okay.
And
The
lives in
universe is
Zendo.
smaller than we thought.
Is Zendo started by Shannon?
Before I launched into the material that I brought, I wanted to not fill your mind with ideas, which will kill any ideas you already have. So a few minutes of just what do you guys think are failure modes of habits? Any examples or ideas?
For the longest time, I couldn't develop any kind of habits. Nothing, almost anything. I'd get something going for a week, maybe 2, and then usually around the 1.5 week mark, I'd forget for a few days, and it would just be completely gone. But recently, I've kind of developed where I'm basically, it's not just for habit, but as a general course of action. It's basically the idea of cooperating with myself in the future. The idea of setting things up so that it will be easier for myself in the future to cooperate, to go along with the plan I've set in stone. The easiest way to explain this is not in terms of habits, but in terms of putting things away. Rather than put something where it's supposed to go, I put it where I'm going to be looking for it in the future. And so with habit building, it's a case of You know, I gotta remember to brush my teeth. Well, I'll put my toothbrush in a place where I'll notice it obviously around the time I need to brush my teeth, and that'll help remind future me to brush my teeth.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is like running out of motivation, like so the 2-week hard limit.
Is it running out of motivation or forgetfulness?
I think it's a bit of a combination of both of
Yeah, I
those.
think forgetfulness is because you're not sufficiently motivated, possibly. Because like things that you're really excited about, you tend to not forget as much, right?
Yeah. You wouldn't forget about it. I've run into a similar sort of thing, and the hard part for me is not that like I'll drop it one day, but it's like picking it up after you drop. Like you have to be willing to accept a certain rate of failure.
Right. So missing. I don't know how you put that. I guess be willing to accept temporary setbacks.
Resilient to
Restarting habit.
So it'll be like, I forgot exactly the number. Or it's resetting the load. Right. Oh, right, it goes off after every hour.
forgetting why you started the habit in the first place.
So
Wait, that's the failure mode of the habit?
A failure mode. Why am I doing this?
No, and the opposite is definitely a helpful success. Reminding yourself, like, I'm doing this for this reason. So,
I think another biggie is you're not getting the results you expected somehow.
early failure, maybe.
Or not seeing results.
Yeah. Or just, lack of feedback.
Or a unrelated significant lifestyle change.
Oh yeah, results you weren't expecting, like you were expecting to get a benefit to your lifestyle, you weren't getting it. What about skills you can't figure out how to practice? Like I've tried to learn Haskell several times and have just lost patience with it. So and haven't
the same
figured
thing, not
haven't figured out.
results.
I see. Well, not being
Well-
sure about process. Yeah.
Or just not having the motivation to make a plan to do it in the first place.
No concrete plan.
So like lifestyle changes, you have a habit and then you suddenly something in your life changes and that habit you just stop it because it's no longer convenient, and you set up an environment where it is convenient and now you change everything that's no longer convenient.
Anything else?
Yeah, I guess sort of like realizing that your plan is often, I mean, this is related, but realizing that your plan is wrong in some important way and not
Dropping
modifying it.
entirely instead of modifying.
Yeah. So making brutal plans.
That's a good way to summarize it. This is all good stuff, keep going.
Not doing the thing.
We're doing the thing if it's something we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Well, everything is these are all classes of not doing the thing.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't know if this is, I guess no concrete plans.
Not.
Yeah.
lack of, and this might be part of running out of motivation, but setting up the plan when you're thinking ahead and you're like, oh, this is a good idea long term, but then when you come up to it, you know, like, oh, I'm supposed to exercise at, 6 a.m. I don't want to get up right now. So short term versus long term.
Okay. think there might be some stuff in there that I didn't cover.
Yeah, maybe
But,
like failure to account for negative experiences. I guess it's really the same thing.
So I'm going to launch into my stuff, and then if I don't feel like we covered some of the stuff in here, we'll talk about it more at the end. Or it might work in as a subcategory of the things that I brought. So I tried to structure this somewhat. Okay. So the first point is that failure is always failure. And that includes when it's circumstances beyond your control, because accounting for circumstances beyond your control can be part of the robustness of your plan. My diet works when I stick to it. You probably all heard this a lot. This is like a classic example. So what we're going to try to do, two things. We're going to try to figure out, actually figure out why you failed. And then, so that's going to cover most of the material, is trying to actually figure out why are we failing at the things that we ostensibly want to do. And then at the end, we'll go a little bit meta, because this is less wrong. And we'll figure out, hopefully, what habits will help me get better at building habits.
Question, maybe this week, I'm confused about this, this is my first time, but why are we focusing on failure modes and not at all having any things that would improve success?
What do you mean? Oh, the negative and not the positive. So in many cases, inverting the failure mode is a way to be more successful at it. Yeah, this is specifically like examining times that you failed at a habit.
Okay.
If you want to get into like the more positive success spiral kind of stuff, I have a little bit on that from Nick Winter's book. But yeah, we can definitely talk about that. After we cover the material, I also wanted to have us split up into groups and actually discuss a habit that we're trying to build, and that would be a great time to talk about positive methods. Okay. Comments, questions?
I don't think I actually understand. Failure is always failure.
So there's like a strong urge to attribute your failure to something, right? And that can be like a negative thing. Not always, but many times it'll be negative to attribute it to something and say, oh, I failed because X, Y, Z. Maybe that's somewhat true, but you failed. The point is that you failed, right? So like actually go back and figure out why you failed. Don't say, I failed because X, Y, Z. And walk away.
So assigning and blame, it's not your
Yeah.
It's not because of you, but some external factors.
Right.
Or changing your behavior, so not rather than just doing it over the same way again.
Right. Repeatedly failing the same way. Or figuring, oh, I failed because of X, Y, Z. Just deal with X, Y, Z. Oh, now you failed because of some other reason. It's because your plan was brittle, not because that particular thing was so stressing that it instantly made you fail.
So adapt to failure regardless of whether you're, quote, responsible for it.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Negative reinforcement sucks. Don't do it. So, like, for instance, the most salient point is feeling bad when you fail. You might think this is helpful. It's probably counterproductive. You're creating an UG field around the entire topic. Your brain does not understand that I feel bad because I failed at this thing. All it knows is this thing I'm trying to do, bad, and you just kind of avoid it.
What about negative reinforcement for avoiding behaviors?
For avoiding behaviors.
Like you're trying to put
Getting
smoke
shocked every time you try to reach for a cigarette.
Oh, I think this has been tried and it's not very effective.
We can go into great detail about this later if you like.
Okay.
Um,
I only bring it up because I know of an instance negative reinforcement helped me learn something incredibly quickly, where it was basically you had to hold on to a little, it was this experiment, you had to hold on to a string to make sure weight didn't drop. First time after the weight dropped and hit me on the head, I never failed to grab the string.
Right. So the biggest problem with one of the biggest problems with using like a structured negative reinforcement to try and teach yourself something, like to avoid a behavior, is that you usually have to apply the negative reinforcement yourself. You train yourself not to apply that before you train yourself to not do what you're trying not to do.
I see. Yeah, because your psyche will go the path of least resistance.
The world can beat you into submission, but you can.
Exactly. Yeah. So, does anyone have ideas for ways to combat this? I actually don't have much for this card. Like accepting.
Yeah, accepting and moving on. That word would have to be in there, accepting.
I find what helps me is taking responsibility, because then I can avoid feeling like a failure when I go, okay, I have failed this time, but I know how I have failed, I know what I'm going to do to change it, therefore I'm not a failure, I have another shot at success. I no longer need to feel bad about having failed.
Recognizing how far you made it this time around, right? Oh wow, it's been 5 days since I last forgot to do this thing. That's better than last time.
Yeah, incremental process. Sorry, what was the? Can you summarize what you said?
I think acknowledge responsibility and see that as a positive, and don't see yourself as a failure. But I'm having trouble summarizing.
Sort of like part of this, like the process failed.
Yeah.
Or don't make it.
You're not a bad person for having failed, because you were going to improve and try again.
Right. The
Learn something.
if I refer to the post about being stupid, do people know what I'm talking about? It was not on Lessrom, it was linked from there. Basically, there's a pretty nice idea around that stupid is just sort of a pointless term to use to describe somebody or something, or even like stupid acts is pretty bad, because what it really means is like you don't know this thing or you don't know how to do this thing, and I'm not telling you any more than that. Generally, like being bad at some particular thing means you're just doing something wrong about it, and there's some particular set of things that you could fix to become better at it. If you're stupid about something, that means there's some particular set of things that you just don't know about it that you could learn if you were able to debug that process.
Well, is stupidity ignorance or a genetic predisposition?
There's also willful stupidity, where I don't want to know and I don't care and this sucks and I don't want to.
Please don't educate me.
Yes.
Right. Okay, and that's fair. That's a different sort of emotional stance, though. In particular, there's an emotional stance where like this isn't working because I'm bad at it, and then feeling like guilty or bad is useless.
Yeah, I know the feeling you're talking about.
Right. It's sort of it's actually sort of just ascribing things to yourself rather than to like smaller parts of yourself. In some sense, it's like a failure of to break the problem apart. And if you can ascribe it to, like, well, there's this thing that I'm missing, and or you can make it about what you do rather than sort of who you are, then it's much easier not to take these kinds of things personally.
I think,
Yeah, not anthropomorphizing
Yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
I don't know.
Well, this is like a subheading of like viewing yourself, the failure mode of viewing yourself as a coherent agent rather than a bunch of sub-agents that are all competing. But that's a bit more like complicated and beyond the scope of this. I think we'll get into it a little bit specifically in this context. But awesome stuff. Okay. More ideas? Anything? Okay. So yeah, perfectionism, feeling like one failure means automatically the whole process is crap, I'm just going to give up now.
I failed English class because of that.
You didn't turn stuff in?
Yeah, I refused to turn in the book project.
Because it wasn't perfect?
Yes. Of course, the reason I couldn't get it perfect was because I couldn't get past the first page, because the first page had to be perfect. This was back in middle school. I've gotten a little better since then.
Right.
How did you get past the first sentence? When you use the same psychologies past the first sentence to go past the first page?
It was basically the point where my father was going to lock me in my room sans anything but the book and writing utensils. Because it was
At which
the
point you
last
started
month
correcting
of
the book.
school. So at that point I had a bit of support from my friends who offered to do the illustrations and other sorts. Having somebody take part of the responsibility away, minimize the task, the size of the task, I felt more able to get it done when I didn't have to worry about all of it.
So when you diffuse responsibility?
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
Or does it make it more specific to you?
I think that's a good idea. I think part of perfectionism is stress about it, and a good way to reduce that is to get help. You know, get someone to either take part of the task onto themselves. That way, you are not responsible for making it perfect. And while you're not going to get mad at your friend for not making it perfect, they're a normal person. It's sometimes a little easier to apply that.
Depersonalize it, yeah.
Yeah.
So if someone else was critiquing me, would they be nearly as harsh on me as someone else? And yeah, it's definitely true. You are your own worst critic.
I used to put off doing like problem sets for math classes because then I was simply lazy rather than stupid and I didn't get it. I'd have an excuse for turning in a poor problem set if I put it off as long as possible.
Yep.
I think, yeah, that's not exactly perfectionism, but it's related, definitely.
I think the people who don't suffer from perfectionism are people who are absolutely convinced that what they're doing is perfect. So another option is if you can just convince yourself that what you're doing is, so let's say I'm learning how to play guitar, I probably throw it down after every minute because it's not, like I'm not playing guitar, right? I'm like, so it's not like I'm playing, a full, guitar song, but the only way to continue is just convince yourself that you're amazing at guitar. So you call up your friends, hey, listen to my new song.
Well, maybe.
Sucks.
Well, I think you can modify that to be
Yeah,
more
like whatever what you're doing now is good enough.
faith in your own process,
Yeah.
even though you know that might be imperfect. I'm going to try this for a week. At the end of the week, I can reevaluate. I'm not stuck doing this the rest of my life if it's not perfect.
But I found that there are people who just are convinced that they are good when they're not at all, and everyone else knows that, but they seem convinced. But on the other hand, they play guitar terribly for 20 years, thinking that they're the best, and after 20 years, they've played guitar for 20 years, and now they're great.
I'm not sure that's the most efficient.
I think it might be better to kind of acknowledge that I may not be great now, but it's good enough for what I am doing. I'm on the process. It doesn't have to be perfect. It is good enough now. I just need to keep working.
What's your goal in learning to play the guitar in this little example? Because it kind of depends on what your goal is.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
If your goal is to become good at guitar, then you want other people's feedback, and you want to take it seriously.
Yeah. But to be able to take it seriously, you need to actually be able to see your own faults.
But yeah, I think the kind of the adage, what is it? The exact wording? The better is the worst enemy of the good.
Yeah.
Very much applies. Take a look. Is what you have right now good enough to meet the goals you want?
Heard the saying.
Move on.
Saying is perfect is the enemy of done.
Yeah.
And also, if version 1 isn't embarrassing, you release too late.
Yes.
So the other big one that I think about a lot is comparing yourself to like some idealized version of yourself that does everything the most efficient way possible. And so you're constantly falling short of that and feeling negative, which is, again, just creating ugh feels around doing it at all. And I think timeless decision theory here is something that counteracts that. Because imagining, if I have the general policy of not doing things unless I can do them in the optimal way, I'm never going to do anything. So imagine yourself not doing anything for the next 20 years. This is not a very useful path to go down.
Yeah, you have to at least try or something, yeah.
That's the form of decision theory where you pick how you act in response to various belief states.
Yeah, the very short version is if I behave like this in situation X, then I'll behave similarly in all situations that are analogous to X. Okay. So if I eat the donut now, then I'll also eat a donut in all similar circumstances.
What? No, I just what the technology is going to know there are people that are working on very well understanding theory.
My bag is behind you.
Any other ideas about not comparing yourself to someone who that's fictional evidence, right?
Yeah. Whatever hang up you have now is